Imagine a world in which our oceans are devoid of wildlife, one in which the homes of 1,000 populations lies dormant in decay, where a trip to the tropics is synonymous to a trip to the cemetery, the cornerstone to the foundation of oceanic life is now, more than ever, at risk of decimation through the process of coral bleaching. Do you want to preserve the coral reefs for your children and grandchildren to see? You can make a difference in this crisis by educating yourself about coral bleaching.
Our podcast today is on the topic of coral bleaching. With me, I have two of the top experts in the field of coral bleaching, Hannah and Bailey. Bailey, tell me, what is coral bleaching?
Thank you for having us today, Carly. Coral bleaching is when corals are stressed by changes in temperature, light, or nutrients. They expel the symbiotic algae living in their tissues, causing them to turn white.
And what causes coral bleaching?
One thing that causes coral bleaching is temperature changes. An increase in ocean temperature caused by climate change is a leading cause. Bleaching events occur during sudden temperature drops accompanying intense upwelling episodes. Bleaching is much more frequently reported from elevated seawater temperature. A small positive irregularity of 1 to 2 degrees for 5 to 10 weeks during the summer season will usually induce bleaching. Another factor that causes coral bleaching is runoff and pollution. A storm-generated precipitation can rapidly dilute ocean water, and runoff can carry pollutants, usually affecting near-shore corals. Sunlight is also a leading factor in coral bleaching. When ocean temperatures are high solar irradiance contributes to bleaching.
What is the importance of coral reefs?
Coral reefs provide goods and services estimated at or between $172 and $375 million per year, as well as food and income to 500 million people around the globe. The loss of coral reefs affect economies all over the world by increasing prices of fish as those populations dwindle. Coral reefs serve as a vital purpose to the well-being of the oceans around the world by contributing to the marine food chain and providing shelter to over 25% of fish. Coral reefs provide support for more species respectively than any other marine environment. Scientists have projected that there are millions of marine species still undiscovered among the coral reefs. Coral reefs contain the biodiversity that could be essential for the development of medicines that could cure cancer and other impactful diseases.
And Hannah, tell me, why do corals need symbiotic algae?
Carly, that's a great question. The relationship between the coral polyp and tiny algae called zooxanthellae is a symbiotic relationship, which means the relationship is mutually beneficial. The coral provides shelter and nutrients for the algae, and in exchange, the algae provide food to the coral, which uses energy from the sun or photosynthesis and the nutrients provided by the coral. Algae live in the skin tissue of the polyp and produce pigments, which when the partnership breaks up, the polyp expels the algae, which leaves the coral white. Although corals can feed using tentacles or snare food, 90% of the nutrition comes from algae, and they are a critical component of coral skeleton formation, reef maintenance, and growth. When symbiotic algae and the coral can die from the starvation or become so weak it succumbs to the harmful bacteria or seaweeds, which can poison and or kill the coral.
And what can I do as a tourist to prevent coral bleaching?
There's actually quite a few different ways that you can prevent this. One of the ways is that you can respond by stop buying coral souvenirs. If there's less demand for coral souvenirs, then there will be less of a reason to collect corals from the ocean. It is also important to stay educated on coral reefs and how to protect them before you go out diving. An important lesson to remember when you dive is to refrain from touching the coral, as this will stir up sediment which could smother the coral itself. Another way you can help is by purchasing reef-friendly sunscreen. This sunscreen is free of oxybenzone and octinoxate, which in warm waters can induce coral bleaching when in high concentration. You can also look up fishing regulations if you plan to go out to sea. Many fish species such as parrotfish, grouper, and surgeonfish are grazers that eat algae and keep coral reefs healthy. They suppress macroalgal cover, minimize coral algal competition, increase coral growth and recruitment, and they help coral population to recover after disturbances such as hurricanes. If you are renting a boat during your vacation, try sailing in a way that won't hurt the coral reefs. Keep watch to avoid leakage of oil. Dispose of sewage in a proper way. Use pump out facilities instead of discarding your sewage into the ocean. And do not anchor on coral reefs itself. When dropping anchor on corals, the anchor can cause significant ecological damage, and if the boat moves, the anchor is dragged over the reef, which destroys the coral even more.
Well, thank you so much to my two coral bleaching experts, Hannah and Bailey.
After learning about the effects of coral bleaching, what will you do to decrease pollution, secure the future of marine life, and do your part to help save our planet?